Gavin Newsom, my favorite guy. Mr. Good Socks, I just might. Issues executive order for removal of homeless encampments in California. That's a lot of homeless encampments. Is this a relevant video? Or is this just like a random video for fun?
Homeless encampments across California may soon be taken down with more urgency, sparked by a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision allowing an Oregon city to issue citations and arrests for sleeping outside. Governor Gavin Newsom issued a state order directing California officials to, quote, move urgently to address dangerous encampments while supporting and assisting the individuals living in them.
Don't be fooled. You know fully well the authorities, the police, have the ability to, quote, address dangerous encampments. What do you think the police can do to support and assist the individuals living in them? Exactly.
Some homeless advocates were caught off guard and outraged.
This is really a punch in the gut.
Super sad and disappointing.
Jennifer Friedenbach says she already sees thousands of people on a wait list for housing in San Francisco and that all the city's shelter beds are already full.
They want to basically crack down on folks who have no other choice.
California has the largest homeless population in the nation, more than 180,000 people, according to a 2023 homelessness assessment report to Congress. The state's policies following the Supreme Court decision are being closely watched by other cities and states across the nation. An estimated 650,000 people are experiencing homelessness nationwide, more than a 12% increase since 2020. About a dozen big city mayors across California support the governor's directive while emphasizing a need for housing solutions.
Which, of course, you're not putting through.
Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass put out her own statement pushing back on, quote, strategies that just move people along from one neighborhood to the next. She said homelessness in Los Angeles is already decreasing from programs to get people into permanent housing and called on Newsom to continue collaborating on strategies that work. Homeless advocates question the timing of Newsom's order.
The Newsom executive order, in a lot of ways, is performative. These kind of measures that just, you know, kind of have the fake appearance of doing something, actually waste resources and make a really horrible situation for everyone, most of all unhoused people, worse.
The governor spoke with CNN's Jake Tapper in February about making housing more affordable.
A lot of people are now facing these choices where they have to live in their car because they can't afford rent. What is California doing about that?
They did. They allocated like $900 million for shelter and housing. Irrelevant and meaningless. We already know what helps bring homelessness down, and it's housing first initiative. I know what these shelter and housing programs look like. Okay, I grew up in LA. Okay, unless we're talking some. First of all, $1 billion is like a pithy nothing in the face of this many people. Okay, the long-term solution, you know, you develop job availability more equitably. You develop resources for addicts. Housing first initiatives, you know, you build out the facilities for that, but none of this is happening. You know, none of this is happening.
Roll their eyes, but I mean it. The most significant reform of the Medicaid system, Medi-Cal in the state of California. But part of those strategies include housing and supports for rent and connecting that to the Medicaid system.
Housing the unhoused, according to advocates, often comes down to the issue of supply and demand, the need to build more housing that's affordable to those who want and desperately need it.
It's not just that. There's like a whole there's like a network of problems that are being addressed here. The LA mayor is correct in that all this really does is sort of performatively push people from one neighborhood to the next. This is still insane though, man. Like, it's the largest state in the union. Doing this from like a state level executive order, not even a city level, a state level.
Breaking news this morning, we're hearing from Governor Gavin Newsom after he issued an executive order that directs local authorities to begin dismantling homeless encampments. KTLA's Omar Lewis live now in Hollywood with those details. Omar, good morning.
Jessica, good morning. Yeah, that executive order from the governor is aimed at dismantling thousands of homeless encampments just like this one here on Hollywood Boulevard this morning. The move follows a landmark Supreme Court decision which gave local leaders greater authority to remove homeless.
This guy's not becoming VP. Don't you all worry about it.
encampments. And this morning on X, Governor Newsom releasing a video statement about the new executive order. Take a listen.
I don't think there's anything more urgent and more frustrating than addressing the issue of encampments in the state of California. Over the course of the last number of years, the state has stepped up.
The issue being the discomfort of housed people as they walk by the homeless.
In the past, we provided no support, no resources to cities and counties to clean up encampments like this. Today, we've invested now over $1 billion in encampment resolution grants.
The plan from the governor is now ordering California cities and counties to adopt local policies and to use all available resources.
Oh, sorry.
When it comes to how best to dismantle homeless encampments. It also encourages local governments to ramp up enforcement that emulates the state's models. Now, state agencies now provide 48 to 72 hours notice before clearing encampments, and personal belongings will be bagged, tagged, and stored for at least 60 days. The Supreme Court's decision has left cities in a conundrum, however, weighing the need for enforcement against the rights of those who have nowhere else to go. Enforcement also remains.
How is that a conundrum? It's literally like the conundrum between ruining people's lives and the lives of the people being ruined. What are you talking about? That's not the conundrum. That's the thing you're doing. The conundrum of the outcomes of the actions that we're doing to incur the outcome
is an unresolved issue, as the state cannot compel cities to adopt these new measures, but can only advise and incentivize them through funding control. Local leaders like LA's Mayor Karen Bass will now be trying to balance enforcement with compassion. Take a listen.
This is going to be
an
interesting question about the difference between the state government policy and localities like Los Angeles, where Mayor Bass has said she doesn't want to use these anti-camping ordinances. There's no doubt that the Supreme Court's decision allows a state to do what Governor Newsom is doing here. You just still have to make sure that with respect to every other individual right, you aren't trampling on that.
The streets of California are home to an estimated 180,000 homeless people, the most in the nation, and these encampments are a stark reminder of the state's ongoing housing crisis. This sweeping order comes with its own set of limitations, as the effectiveness of such measures is now under scrutiny. A recent Rand Corporation study suggested that dismantling encampments might not have a long-term impact on
Who could have fucking guessed? That's crazy.
reducing homelessness. Meanwhile, civil liberties groups, they are set to challenge any heavy-handed enforcement, ensuring that protections against excessive fines and due process violations are being upheld. Back out here live, we can tell you that Caltrans has already been active, clearing over 11,000 campsites since 2021. Under this new directive, we know that other state agencies like California State Parks and Fish and Wildlife will now be directed to take similar measures as well, with given a priority to those encampments that pose the largest health and safety risks.
It's crazy. I don't even have much to say because it's all so obvious. I guess I wish there was just like a video statement of Gavin Newsom being like, yeah, this is why I think this is a good idea, but I know I'm not going to get that.
Well, this is a pivotal moment in California issue.
Today I announced an executive order. The
state has invested billions of dollars to address the housing crisis. It comes after a Supreme Court ruling that made it easier for cities to remove tents and punish people for sleeping on sidewalks. But at the Coalition on Homelessness in San Francisco, which is embattled in a Ninth Circuit Court lawsuit with the city.
It was really, I think, a big slap in the face of unhoused people who are really suffering without having access to water, electricity, a door to lock, a bed to sleep in.
There are more than 8,000 unhoused in SF, according to city data, and Mayor London Breed recently said she plans to aggressively pursue clearing more encampments starting next month. Her office said the city is already doing what the governor is calling for, saying in a statement,
I don't get it. Where do they want the homeless people to go? Well, they want the homeless people to die. They just can't say that. They want the homeless people to be removed from their encampments and to just sort of vanish. Like that is the only, like, look, you can assume one of two things, okay? You can assume either that the people pushing for these policies are invalids with no object permanence who think, if I clear this camp, that means the problem's gone, smile. Or you can assume that they have some sapience, and rather that they understand that what they're trying to do is just sort of remove homeless people. And they will either make a new encampment somewhere, or they'll die.
This is why we are seeing a 5-year low in the city's tent count on our streets. We have made significant investments in shelter and housing. But a UCSF statewide study last year found addressing people before they become unhoused is key. It found participants reported an average monthly income of $960 in the 6 months prior to becoming homeless, and believe rental subsidies or one-time financial help would have prevented it.
It's just, this is what we've been doing. We've been sweeping all along and violating people's human rights, and it hasn't worked, and it exacerbates homelessness. So we'd like to see a real shift. We'd like to see a shift towards the policymakers really looking at solving the issue by investing in prevention.
The mayor's office says it's also waiting for next week, when it expects the Ninth Circuit Court to lift that injunction, which would allow it to implement new policies under the Supreme.
That's enough of this. The people in the comment section seem to have the right head about it, more or less. Yeah, pretty much everyone is just one medical disaster or one very expensive accident away from homelessness, or at the very least from being sent back to their parents' couch. Yeah, of course, Masagui, they should build more housing. One of the reasons why the homelessness crisis is so bad in California is just because there's not enough housing, and a lot of that is because in the major population centers in California, such as San Diego, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, they're allergic to building new housing. Seriously, if you ever go down to Los Angeles and look at all the, drive past these Zillow-listed $2.5 million homes, and a lot of them are literally single-story ranch-style homes with a bunch of dead lawn, a driveway on either side. You're talking 1,400 square feet, taking up a 6,000-foot lot. And this is in one of the most populated cities in the world, you know? Not enough progress, Dusty Poncho. They can't build new low-income housing because of a racist law implemented in the 50s. Why California lawmakers are giving up a bid to repeal a nearly 75-year-old anti-public housing measure. Article 34 requires the approval of local voters before public housing can be built. Yep, that sounds about right. Did you guys see that, I saw it on Twitter. Did you guys see this thing recently where in Los Angeles there was this ugly grass patch called a park? They wanted to put a swing set on there to make the kids in the neighborhood so they could have something to do, and a bunch of people showed up, a bunch of octogenarian fucks showed up, and they were like, we think a swing would encourage foul play or something like that. Can I find this? I need to find this. It's so relevant to what we're talking about, man. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Yeah, I can't find that. Damn it. Oh man, it's so relevant too. That's so frustrating. Sounds like a Park and Rec episode. It genuinely was however bad you think it is, it's worse than that. I just can't find it. I'm struggling too. I know exactly what you're talking about. It is so frustrating. Yes!
Something a playground. This is my local park. It's kind of boring. Something a playground would improve it. Others, not so much.
This is just so wrong. Drug paraphernalia, needles, it's going to congregate here at night.
Coyotes roam this park. Children have been nabbed by the coyotes.
I have the feeling that there may be more cars parking. We need less cars, no more.
2 swings and a slide. This is so controversial, our city councilman had to hold a community forum.
40% of households in this neighborhood have children. We just don't have a space to congregate, to meet other parents, to get to know each other.
The people who want this most.
It's literally a bunch of 60 to 80-year-olds saying, no, you can't put up 2 swings here because of immigrants or something. It's insane.
Not able to come up. They're not here. It's our children. It's the children who haven't been born yet. This playground, it's for the children.
Councilman Kevin De Leon listened to every single person who wanted to speak. It took over 2 hours. And on one hand, I respect that. Los Angeles does have a history of ignoring its citizens. It's demolished entire neighborhoods to build freeways. But this feels like an overcorrection. Should we have a community forum to plant a tree, fill a pothole, install a speed bump? This park is objectively underutilized. With a couple thousand kids in walking distance, a playground is a no-brainer. It should have already been built. Instead, Councilman De Leon asked, and 60% of my neighbors are against it. Now we'll see whether he has the political courage to act anyway.
I really do despise them. I really do despise. I hate them more than you could possibly imagine. Why are they against the playground? Because they're demons. They're not human beings like you and I. They don't have an internal monologue. They're demons. They're empty vessels of hate sent here by Satan to make life worse for the rest of us.